Well, good Friday afternoon, New York Jet fans and NFL fans. It is November 4th, 2022, at 3:14 p.m., and we are just underway on week 9 of the NFL season. Last night in Houston, the Philadelphia Eagles go to 8-0, the only undefeated team. They beat the Texans 29-17 in Houston, where a few thousand miles to the east, the Phillies hosted the Houston Astros, and it was just the opposite where the Phillies lost in Game 5 of the World Series to Houston. So the Astros are one game away from winning the World Series. It's going back to Houston, I believe, for tomorrow and Sunday. Um, but Week 9 started, and some would say that at halftime of the 1 p.m. games this week on Sunday, that we'll be halfway through the season. Now, let me start off by saying this is the takeoff. The handle now on YouTube, there's a new channel handle that YouTube just started doing, and it's called now The Jets Take Off. Please subscribe. Please like this video. Please like the videos that you like, and you'll get notified when these new videos are uploaded. I try to do these at least once a week. More times than not, it's twice a week or more. This past week, what I did was something different. Following the game on Sunday, I did a rapid reaction, which when I got home, I basically did not come into the jet room. I stayed in front of the house and recorded myself on the phone with my reaction. Basically, quickly, everything that was on my mind, and then posted it. Usually on Mondays, I'll do a recap of the game, the results and what I saw there. I did that quickly on Sunday. I didn't want to rehash this game. I didn't want to go back, but it seems like this game is just the game that keeps coming back to haunt us, and I hope it doesn't haunt us later on this season. Um, when I looked at the 5 game sequence where we're at Green Bay, at Denver, home for New England, home for Buffalo, then on a bye, then at New England. What I had us doing was losing at Green Bay in Denver, beating New England, and then losing at Buffalo, and then losing at New England. So basically, going 4-1, basically, out of those 5 games. It kind of flip flopped. We took 2 out of the first 3. Uh, New England game was there. I don't want to rehash it. I don't want to go back, but I don't want it to be that division game that comes back to haunt us later on. I keep saying that. Um, it just seems like the usual suspects where the quarterback doesn't play well against New England. The defense plays, you know, good enough to win, but we're not there. And Belichick, whoever his quarterback is, adjusts, whether it's Brady, Cam Newton, Mac Jones, what have you. So we're going to move past that. We're playing Buffalo this week. Buffalo is an 11.5 point favorite. I think it opened up at 12.5 or 13 points. And this is over a home team that is 5-3, 2 games above 500. That just goes to show you the respect that Buffalo gets. And I'm not going to say a lack of respect for the Jets, because the way the Jets played last week and the weeks prior, even when they won, does not give you an extreme amount of confidence they can keep up with Buffalo. That being said, twice last year at home, the Jets were underdogs to Cincinnati and the Titans. They beat Cincinnati late, and they beat the Titans in overtime. Of course, Cincinnati wound up going to be the defending AFC champions. So you never know. But what the offense is telling me from what they look like, with Corey Davis going down, with Brees Hall going down, with Vera Tucker going down, AVT going down, this is going to be a mountain to climb for the New York Jets. And, we'll go out there, expect the worst and hope for the best, I guess. 11.5 point underdogs, you're talking, a 3-score game. And as a fan, listen, you want to go there and you want to win. You go in there realistic though. But I want to see Zach play against an elite team and play head to head and make decisions. I was reading something on Twitter last night, and I go back and forth because I want to make sure it's not just me thinking these things or whatnot. And somebody put on Twitter, and I think it just epitomized the first 8 games that this team played, where the first 3 games they lost home to Baltimore, they beat Cleveland, with the perfect storm of events happening with those last few ticks of the clock, and they lose to Cincinnati. Um, and everybody was like, well, if Zach plays, they don't lose those 2 games. Maybe they're 3-0. Then Zach comes in and he wins his first 4 starts, doesn't turn the ball over. And they go, well, he played a, you know, backup quarterback. Well, Zach didn't play a backup quarterback. The defense did. Zach and the offense started to put points up. So that was September. September was if Zach played, he would have made a difference. Then you have October, or the first, 3 or 4 weeks into October, and it's look at Zach 4-0. We could have been 6-1, 7-0 at this point. And then they play the Patriots, and it's oh my God, Zach is a bust. We want Mike White. What and it's just a ridiculous. And I get it. I get it. This fan base is looking for instant gratification because they have not had any gratification in 50 plus years. This team has not been a playoff team or a playoff threatening team since 2015. They have not been in the playoffs since the 2010 season, the longest drought in the NFL right now. So you're looking for that next step. And everybody thought it was Sam Darnold. And if you look at Sam now, was it the Jet coaching that didn't develop him, and now he's basically third on the depth chart in Carolina? Or was it that Sam was just not that good of a quarterback? Baker Mayfield on the same team as Sam, number 1 pick in the draft, and he was slated to start and then got hurt. So what is it? Are we, as scouts, or I should say, are the scouts over scouting these guys? Are they overrating them? I don't know. Josh Allen, who we will face this week, who has swagger, who has confidence, who has the talent and the ability and the team around him. His first 18 games were not great either. So I don't think you can judge a quarterback on 18 games. You want to go a full 2 seasons. Yes. You want to stay without injuries. Listen, injuries are part of this game. Breece Hall went down. It was a tremendous blow to this offense. Corey Davis went down, and that is Zach's favorite target. And I said that in my videos earlier. So, yes, there are things around Zach, but a good quarterback will adjust, will make smart football moves. And not all good quarterbacks will make smart football moves every time they play. Marino made mistakes. Kelly made mistakes. Brett Favre made mistakes. Even the great Tom Brady made mistakes. And I won't even mention now because I think Tom is playing this season out because he's not a quitter, but I don't think he ever wanted to come back this year, knowing the issues he was going to be facing home and on the field. But Zach is our QB right now. He's QB1. The one thing I do notice, when Zach is not under pressure, he goes through his progressions. Wonderful. If Zach senses any type of pressure, it's happy feet, it's scrambling. In the beginning, it looked like he was smart enough to get the balls out of bounds, to throw down to the feet, not to have it picked off. Last game, he had 3 interceptions on 3 passes that he should have never made. So that has me thinking about what is going through this young man's mind. Is he ready for this? And he should be. At 18 games, I'm not saying he should go out and throw for 600 yards, 3 touchdowns, no INTs, and control the ball for 52 minutes. What I'm saying is he should not still have happy feet. His offensive line has been makeshift all year. AVT being lost, that was huge as he was picking up positions as it was tossed to him. You got to remember, it started with Becton being injured, then Dwayne Brown being injured, and now AVT being injured. You have 3 major injuries to your offensive line. Not many teams can handle that, and we have the luxury right now of having 2-game lead, or I should say 2 games over 500. They're 5-3. If any of those games go the other way, we are looking at desperate times. So I need to see Zach step up. I'm not going to say I need to see Zach go out and, like I said, throw for 600, but he's got to move this offense. This offense sputters without a running game. This offense, without gadget plays, everybody forgets about the end arounds to Barrios. Everybody forgets about the reverses with Garrett Wilson and Brees Hall and whatnot. Um, a natural offense to just take the ball down the field. That's what I want to see. And they're coming up against a great um, team to do it against. Now, they do face Buffalo twice. They face them now, and then they face them 6 weeks from now. To me, those are the two biggest speed bumps in the road in the AFC. They've proven they can play head-to-head with New England, and they were a play or a flag away from winning that game. And I will not take away that that flag should have been called or not. I don't want to play that game. I'm not going to say that who gets better calls than the other or whatever. That game is history. But the Jets need to come out and do what they need to do. They need to take care of business. They need to get the crowd. I'm expecting this week, somebody already said 30,000 Bills fans. I heard the game was a complete sellout. And so you figured 75, 80,000 in the house, 30,000 Bills fans. You're looking at almost half of those seats are going to be Bills fans. And I will say last week, in the last 10 years, 8 years, Patriot fans have dominated MetLife. And they didn't last week. They were there, but they weren't as many as in the past. Jet fans came out. Jet fans came out to represent. I want to see what happens this week after last week's, I'm not saying devastating loss, but disappointing loss. Because I think everybody walking into that game thought the Jets were a better team. The Jets should have won. And after that pick six was brought back, it just went downhill. So as if the Jets didn't have enough on their plate, Corey Davis is out again. Robert Saleh says he expects him to be back after the bye. So Denzel Mims will be dressed again. Elijah Moore, the saga just doesn't end. And first of all, the trade deadline came and went. The Jets picked up a running back after Brees Hall went down. Nothing else was done. No other moves made. The Jets also placed Flacco as third quarterback. Moved up Severinsen, I don't even know his name, from the practice squad. Mike White is a number two quarterback. Maybe there is a strategy to that. I'm not sure. I don't want to read too much into it. Also, Elijah Moore and Denzel Mims, who both said they wanted to be traded at different times during the season and before the season, are still on the team. Now, Mims and Elijah Moore both played last week. Mims did have a few receptions. Elijah had none. I don't know how many targets he had either. After the game, they interviewed Elijah, and in tongue-in-cheek, he made some comments, but then said he wanted to be the best he could be. I mean, I don't know what is going through this young man's mind. But that was early in the week, and you thought maybe, okay, listen, he realized Davis is down, Mims got bumped up, he's going to be playing, he will have more of an impact on this team and have more of an outcome. And I don't think he wants to be here. He said he doesn't want to be here, but even after passing the trade deadline and realizing he was safe here, I'm just going to go with he doesn't want to be here. And the reason why I say this is we're going to go a little bit off topic. Kyrie Irving made some postings, some remarks, anti-Semitism, promoting. I don't know if it's a book or a movie or whatever it is. I'm not really up on it, but it offended Jewish people. It offended many people, to the point where his peers and other NBA players and legends came out in talking against him. He then gave, I believe, $500,000 to the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, and they gave the money back and said, we don't want just the money, we want you. We want you to come out here. He also he said, he made a statement, didn't really apologize. Then he apologized, I believe, a third time. With all this, Elijah Moore takes one of his posts, one of Kyrie Irving's post and puts 100 over it. Has been 100% he agrees or 100% he's backing him or whatever it is. Like, this guy doesn't have a lightning rod attached to him right now. He basically stood out in a rainstorm. And I'm just like, now you just want to get yourself thrown off the team. And, you know, I don't want anybody on this team that doesn't want to be here, but we also need all the bodies we can get. And that's why I was very surprised we didn't go after a wide receiver. And I'm not saying trade Elijah Moore, but maybe make a deal for another wide receiver and just keep Elijah Moore for depth. Because if he's not going to do anything, you know, and be toxic in the locker room, we don't want that. But anyway, that's where we are today with this saga of the Jets. You know, and what's getting lost in it is they're 5-3. They are tied with New England for second place, I believe. They are, tied with Miami, but has a tiebreaker with Miami because they beat them. 1 game above or 2 games above New England and 2 games below Buffalo. They are in the thick of it right now. You know, they have to win one of the next 2 games. And reason being is, first of all, it's 2 division games. You're home for Buffalo at New England. So you want to win another one in the division at least. Then you have Chicago and Minnesota. Chicago, Minnesota, you know, NFC teams. Then you're at Buffalo week 14. And that is, you're talking early December. I'm not sure on the date, but it's early December. What is it going to be like up in Buffalo early December? You know, they come home for Detroit and they come home for Jacksonville on a short week on a Thursday night. Then they're on the road and they go to Seattle and meet Geno Smith, you know, and then they end off at Miami, another division game. But these 2 games are tremendous. If they could steal this game, and I mean go in there, you know, mess on, guns blazing, smash and grab, that would be amazing. Can't look past this game. They have a tremendous mountain ahead of them. I don't know what is going to come out of that locker room on Sunday. And you know, it's funny. Usually the game before will decide who gets announced the game, you know, the next game home. And after the Cleveland comeback, the offense was announced. And Joe Flacco came out last, and everybody went crazy. And before the third quarter started, they were chanting for Mike White. After, you know, beating Pittsburgh with Zach, they did the offense. You know, after beating Miami with the big-time defense, the defense got announced. After going, you know, to Denver and Green Bay, I believe the defense came out this last week too. Mosley came out. Who comes out this week? I'm going to say the defense. Special teams were horrible last week. And who really wants special teams announced? You know, and who wants the offense announced? You don't want them booing your offense before it starts. So it's just these little caveats that I think of. So Buffalo. As I stated in my videos in previous weeks, and especially last week, New England, yes, is or has been one of the biggest rivalries in the last 25 years, since 97, with Parcells making his move over to us. But prior to that, in the 70s, I can remember it being the Baltimore Colts. In the 80s, I always remember it being Miami because of Marino. And the 80s and 90s was Miami and Buffalo. And I remember, you know, those 4 years, you know, that Buffalo went to the Super Bowl. And I remember, you know, when I first started going to the games, when Buffalo came in, first of all, Buffalo fans travel well. Not as well as they travel now. There wasn't Bills Mafia back then, but they traveled well. Don Beebe, Thurman Thomas, you know, Jim Kelly, Andre Reed. I'm trying to think of, you know, Steve Tasker, Darryl Talley, Bruce Smith. You know, they came in and you were playing, you know, this team went to the Super Bowl last year. This team went to the Super Bowl last 2 years. And it was always a big game because, number one, division game, and number two, they always seem to have our number. one of the first ever games, well, first game ever I went to in the old stadium was a Monday night with my father in 1989, I want to say. 88, 89. And it was called the Pumpkin Game. It was it was named the Pumpkin Game. That was the game where the New York Jets decided not to serve beer after halftime anymore. It was a high flying Buffalo attack against a very underskilled, not good Jet team. A rowdy crowd. I think Buffalo won 31-10. There was fires in the stands. There was just craziness, and I can remember this giant pumpkin. And I actually saw footage of this on Twitter yesterday. If you go on Twitter and go to New York Jets history, they are a great Twitter account, and they showed a video of this pumpkin, and I can remember being up in the third level with my father, and the pumpkin's going around, and it fell into the tunnel where the players come out of, and security guard took it into the tunnel, and the place just went berserk, cursing, booing, and all that, chanting, "We want the pumpkin." And after maybe 4 or 5 minutes, which to me lasted almost 20 minutes, it felt like, security guard came out and threw the pumpkin back in the crowd, and the place went crazy. Nobody was even following what the game was doing. And I remember the guy next to me going, "Holy shit, this is going to be called the Pumpkin Game." That was the first game ever, Jets versus Buffalo. Then, when I started going to the games on a regular basis, I went to a Monday night game, Jets Buffalo. It was just, a season where the Jets would not do well, and they were basically going hand in hand with Buffalo. And I could still remember the Bills were driving from my end zone to the other end zone, to the end zone where the plays come out of. And Jim Kelly took the snap, and that play clock had 0 on it for about a second and a half. And he got the play off. They didn't call delay game, and they wound up scoring the touchdown to win the game on that drive. And I believe maybe on that play. And I can remember saying, no, that was a 0. A few weeks ago, I actually looked up that game, and it was on ESPN or Sports Center back then. I don't know what it was back then. And I remember the woman saying, "Didn't it look like that clock hit 0 before Jim Kelly took the snap?" So there was that game, So Buffalo always had, those games I can remember. There were games they blew us out in, There were games that we went tooth and nail with up in Buffalo. I can remember I want to say 93 or 94, Jets needed to win one of the last 2 games of the season. And they went up to Buffalo in the wind, and they missed 3 field goals. One of the field goals would have sent them to the playoffs. I can remember the week after Dennis Byrd was injured, they went up to Buffalo. Frigid day, and Marvin Washington, I believe it was not Marvin Washington, Brian Washington, I believe, one of them, picked off Jim Kelly, ran in a touchdown with like 2 minutes left. After that, they found out that Dennis actually had feeling at his feet. When the Jets won the AFC East for the first time in '98, it was up in Buffalo. So there's always been that connection with Buffalo and always having those games. And I think, first of all, because you played them twice a year. And Buffalo always had, for a majority of the time I've been following them, marquee teams. Those Jim Kelly teams were outrageous. They were so good. Thurman Thomas, I can go through it. Bruce Smith, I can remember watching a game. They're up in Buffalo. I believe Rich Kotite was the coach. And Boomer Esiason's right or left tackle was out. They put a rookie in. Bruce Smith kind of flinched. The left tackle moved. Bruce had an unabated run to the quarterback and just leveled Boomer. So Buffalo and the Jets always have some sort of history that I can remember. And I remember when we started beating them. It was that year under, I want to say under Pete Carroll, where we beat them. Tony Casillas and Johnny Johnson and whatnot. So this is a big game for the coming up for the Jets to keep uh, not only within a winning record right now, but to keep in the playoff run. And I use the word playoffs because yes, they're on the playoff run. I didn't want to use the word P, but I did to give some distance between them and New England and Miami, and maybe keep pace with Buffalo. But listen, I had Buffalo going to the AFC Championship game, um, same as last year. I think this year is going to be Buffalo. And you know what? I don't know who else. I mean, can Miami actually go to the AFC Championship game? Do they have that much? They added a few players that may do it. But right now, I mean, Buffalo is just a high flying team. I think they could beat Baltimore. I think they could beat Tennessee. I think they could beat Cincinnati. So listen, it is going to be a tremendous game on Sunday. Like I said, if I had a bet, I don't, well, speaking of bet, let's take a look at the picks I chose. So here are my picks for this week. In Detroit, the Green Bay Packers will travel to Detroit to face the Lions. Green Bay's given 3 points on the road. I think Green Bay, even the struggles they had this year, are a better team than the Lions. They win 26-17. They cover. In Atlanta, the Chargers giving 3 points to the Atlanta Falcons. The Chargers are a way better team than Atlanta. They should walk away with this by 2 touchdowns. They covered a 24-10. In Jacksonville, I originally had Jacksonville winning 16-10. I don't know if Jacksonville's going to be able to put up 16 points. They just have been struggling. Las Vegas given 2.5 points, and I think they're going to cover. So I'm taking all the favorites this week, giving the points. The one favorite I'm not taking is Buffalo at the Jets. Like I said earlier, I think the Jets getting 11.5. First of all, Buffalo's not going to cover the 11.5. I don't think. That's betting with my head. With my heart, I think the Jets squeezed this one out, a la the Cincinnati game last year when they had given no shot and they just walked away with it. Now, I shouldn't say walked away with it, but they kept pace with the Bengals and wound up winning in the end. So there you have it. Green Bay -3, Chargers -3, Vegas -2.5. The Jets getting 11.5. So there you have it. I only did 3 games, not including the Jet game. If I had a bet with my head, I'm taking the 11.5 that the Jets are getting. I think they keep it close. Even though I think a lot of people are saying they're going to get blown away, people are going to be leaving at halftime. I think they keep it close enough where the 11.5 make it interesting. If I had a bet with my heart, I think Salah rallies his troops. LaFleur, who I don't even want to get into, who needs to design these plays to benefit Zach, um, puts together a game plan that maybe could use the Jets' um, skills and their characteristics to their advantage. And I think the Jets squeak one out. I think this turns into the Tennessee Titan game last year in overtime, or the Cincinnati Bengal game last year where Mike F. and White came in. And I think the Jets win 31-30 with my heart. Um, Listen, I'm not saying Mike White is the answer. I'm not saying Zach Wilson's the answer. Neither one of them has proven on a consistent basis. But Zach is your number 2 pick. I think you stick with him until you can't stick with him anymore. Um, and we go from there, and you see what you have. I do say this, though, and I heard this about another team, about the Giants, and I think this still will be the same for the Jets. Um, Whether the Jets um, keep Zach Wilson or not, if he's the guy or not, or the Giants re-sign Daniel Jones or he's the guy or not, the next quarterback for both of these teams, if their draft pick quarterback doesn't work out, is a veteran quarterback. And they said watch the Giants go after Lamar Jackson very hard, and you know what? Maybe Lamar Jackson becomes a hot target, and there's a bidding war. Who knows? But I think we are a quarterback away from being on the next level. Did we get lucky? We sure as hell got lucky, but we also put together some good strings of football. Um, and maybe our weakest link, whereas the quarterback position, if it's upgraded slightly or a lot, Lamar Jackson would be a big upgrade. Could make the difference between being 2 games short of a wild card or being right there going for a division title. And I'm not saying the Jets are in the position to go for a division title. I'm just saying there's that difference. Um, so check us out. We are the Takeoff. Send us your videos, send us your pics, send us your tailgating, send us your stories. Um, you know, we have this game at home, then we don't come back home until Chicago on November 27th. So we're away after a week of a bye, but we still have the Bills coming up. Um, we are the Takeoff. You can email us at thejetstakeoff@gmail.com. You can reach us on Twitter at the Jets Takeoff is our Twitter handle. On Facebook, the Takeoff is a Facebook page. But by all means, subscribe to this channel, the Jets Takeoff. It's listed under the Takeoff on YouTube. You can Google it. You can Google my name, Alex Parziali. Subscribe, like this video, leave comments, and I will try to, even if you get to questions, I'll try to get to questions. Tell us, what do you remember about Jets Bills? Like I said, ironically, my first 2 games, I ever saw them in Giant Stadium, and I don't mind using the word Giant Stadium, was that Monday night game in '89, and then I believe it was '92. Have a great rest of your day, a great weekend, a safe weekend, a healthy weekend, a blessed weekend, a blessed weekend. However you say it. I'll talk to you soon, and we'll recap this on Monday, or maybe even sooner.